It's Friday night, somewhere in October 2012. My dad did one of his stupid calls, just telling me how the weather was and asking me how I was doing. I was a bit short off to him and talked a bit with my mom because they were both on the phone. The last thing I heard my dad saying was, "Oh, look, the weather is not so nice." Oh well, good old times. Next day, I woke up, got a call from my mom. Hey, dad is not doing so well, but take it easy, but get yourself to North Holland. Me and my girlfriend then went to Alkmaar, where my dad was in the hospital. My mom was also there. I did not really have a clue what was going on because my mom wasn't so clear to me then. And once we got into the hospital, it was quite clear to me that this was probably the last days that he had to live. He couldn't really communicate anymore. He couldn't talk. Um, he was barely awake. The last thing I saw from him was waving from the bed. He mumbled something. A few moments later, he just lost his consciousness. And that was basically the last contact, really direct contact that I had with my dad. He was brought home by an ambulance. We got a bed for him in the house, and there he was laying, not able to communicate, just breathing. The longer that he was breathing, the more horrible sounds that he was making, as he wasn't able to swallow anymore. For 3 days that continued, us waiting for him to pass away, and him maybe waiting also to end this. While we heard him gurgling his own spit for 3 days long, we were just waiting. He was just laying there. The weird thing was, we had two cats. He was very fond of those cats, and my cat and the cats basically continuously stayed with him. During those days, we got some help from a house nurse, I would say. And after 2 days, she sort of noticed that he was weakening, and she told us maybe it's time to shave him, and maybe today is the day that he will give up and that he will go. My mom and her shaved him, and around 6 o'clock, mind me, we were living in the house, or my parents were living in the house next to the church, as I've shown you a few days ago. And it was 6 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock, there is a song playing from the church tower. The bells will play, and it's called the Angelus. And at 6 o'clock, while the bells were playing, just before that, we got the question to get into the room because she thought it was time for him to pass away. While we were there, while the Angelus was playing, that was also the time that he passed away. Literally, as he mentioned, and on a very spiritual moment, while the bells were playing the Angelus, he passed away. I saw my own dad passing away. I must say that was one moment that I will never forget. Not only because it is, of course, a very important moment, but also because it was, in a way, satisfying to see. It was satisfying because it was at the end of a long period of being sick. He was sick for around 3 years, in the hospital, out of the hospital, getting news about the cancer every week. It was fine that it was done. His body was also completely done. And to see him go, and also to see the effect that it had on his body, the moment that he passed away, he was not there anymore. It was not like he was asleep or something, but something changed inside of him, and his spirit was just gone. Having the opportunity of seeing him passing away helped me a lot in recovering from the fact that he passed away. It supported me in my own thoughts about death. It supported me in the fact that I knew that his spirit was gone from his body. And it supported me in the fact that I saw that he peacefully went away. Especially with the fact that he went away having the Angeles playing on the background. It was just a very nice moment, and I was happy to be there to see it going like that. The days after, however, were just a blur. Since my dad was a pastor, we had a lot of people coming by. The funeral as well, we had one evening with a ceremony in a church, and then we had the day after, we had the funeral itself, also again with a funeral at the church. I think in total there were 1,200 people coming to both those ceremonies. It was just busy, it was chaotic, it was blurry. I was quite numbed and I didn't really know what to feel. But in a weird way, we went through it with the family, and that was about it. The few months after, I had more of a struggle. That was not necessarily with the fact that he passed away, but it was more that I was left with questions that I would like to have asked or that I would like to have answered from my dad, and I did not have that opportunity anymore. For months, I cried myself to sleep. For months, I started to realize that I wasn't able to ask those questions anymore. But gladly, after a few months' time, a good friend of mine, he called me. He was like, "Hey, how's it going?" I told him openly what was going on. And I will never forget this moment because standing in his shoes, his dad passed away when he was 3. So at that moment that I told him what was going on, and he noticed already for quite a while that I wasn't doing so well, he just honestly told me like, "Hey, Misha, I'm gonna be honest with you here. You had the chance to know your dad for 23 years. I knew my dad barely. Maybe I wasn't even aware that he was there." And I was really thankful for him saying this because it completely made me realize that he was right. I should seek for the answers that I was looking for in the experiences and the moments that I had with my dad. My dad was stubborn. He was from, yeah, the old generation, didn't really know how to talk about his feelings, and he wouldn't have. So, yeah, after I had this call with my friend, it became easier time over time. Even now, yesterday, I realized that yes, I miss him from time to time, but on the other end, it is fine like this. And as I mentioned before, I wouldn't have been the Misha that I am now without him passing away. So, without having any regrets, um, yes, I miss him from time to time, but I'm happy that how it went. I'm happy that I had the opportunities to really get to know my dad for who he was, and I am happy that I am now who I am. So, a little story time about the passing away of my dad. Um, this was something that I wanted to do for a long time from a spiritual mindset, but also to, yeah, from a recovery mindset. I hope you liked the video or that you got some. And then there is nothing else to say than big hug, much love, and then I see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.